Hi, Joel August here again. I just wanted to thank everyone who looked at part one of this. I was so inspired by this Jimmy Page Dragon guitar. Such a beautiful guitar. As I mentioned, due to a high school incident, and I never really did any Led Zeppelin. And again, as I say, even though I do sing, I didn't feel I could sing Robert Plant with any justice. But we'll look at that later. In any event, I was so inspired by this guitar, as I mentioned, and by the Metropolitan Museum of Art Instruments of Destruction, New York Metropolitan Museum of Art Instruments of Destruction, rock and roll instruments exhibit. I was so inspired that I continued to explore the song Kashmir, and I thought that I would take you along and just show you whatever I learned. So, for those of you who are not guitar players or musicians, this is going to be fun anyway. So okay, so I wanted to just walk you through, for me, every project I do has to start with the drums. Okay, I'm not a drummer, so most of the times I use loops and I try to spice it up with hand percussion, or I'll do drops, or I'll do cut things out. Not really all that good, mainly because I'm not very patient. Okay, so I try to, sometimes I'll hand tap something in or whatever. In this particular case, no matter what I did, I couldn't get a good drum. I tried to hand beat it in. There's no loop there's no such thing as a loop that's anywhere near John Bonham. Let's face it, we're dealing with one of the premier drummers of rock and roll. And no matter what, and you just has to be right. So what I came across after several weeks of not being able to get anywhere near it, what I came across is this audio extract stems by Audionamics. I hope you could see that. And it is a really amazing product. Okay, what it does is it strips out the drums, the vocals, and then the rest of the music. And then you can export it. It's not instantaneous. It takes a few seconds to run. Okay, it's not instantaneous. And then you export it. You drag and drop your file. I'll show you more on that in a minute. And you export it to your desktop, which I did, and drag and dropped it to my DAW. Now let me show you how well this works. I was blown away. Very often you buy a piece of software and it does half of what it's supposed to do. Okay, just a section of it. I'm going to highlight it for you here, and this is the result that you get. Okay, using Audionamics, and I was so impressed. So with that, I added I sweetened it up a little bit. I used a little EQ, and I boosted and cut in a few places. You do that by ear mostly. I also used this fantastic Fab Filter. Has an amazing program, Pro R, okay? Which, as you can see, comes. What I like about it the best is that it's a tool. It gets me where I need to go quickly. Like I said, I don't have much patience. It gets me there quickly. So the presets are very close to what you want. They have enough in there that is very close to what you want. You want to use some bits. You want to use a little reverb to catch that larger than life feeling that John Bonham gives, and you may be able to see this. I don't have the mix up very high because I want to hear John Bonham. I don't want to hear the reverb. I want it to give it a sense of space without burying John Bonham. We want to hear John Bonham. So that was that. That was the drums. Okay, and believe me, it took me weeks and weeks of trying to roll my own to get anywhere near, finally come up with the brainstorm, let's use John Bonham. This is a cover, okay, with a lot. I do write original music, and I do not copy anyone else's drums or otherwise when I write original, but this is a cover, okay, and I absolutely want it to sound like Kashmir. I want it to sound like John Bonham. The best way to do that is to use John Bonham himself. May he rest in peace. Thank you, John, for everything you gave us. What can I say? So the next thing I think I discovered, we all have heard the stories that Jimmy Page layered his guitars to come up with his guitar army or whatever. I hear violins in there. I hear an orchestra. And we're lucky enough in today's day and age, thanks to synthesizers, computers, so forth and so on, which they didn't have back then. Okay, you can do almost anything in the home studio. So I layered in. I'll give you a sound. Here's the guitar track. Here's the guitar. Here it is in my guitar track without the violins. Okay, and now I want to give you a sense of what it sounds like with the violins in. Okay, I used a string patch from the Roland Juno DS, which I love that. I use it live all the time. But here, take a listen. So as you can see, it gives it a little more of that top end, which makes it sound very much like the record. So hopefully I was on track with that, or either I was on track that the production company, whoever did it for the record label, layered in strings, or Jimmy Page is absolutely a genius, which I'm more impressed with either which way it goes. So I wanted to show you one more thing. So on this next section, I hear some brass in there. Again, either it's it's Jimmy Page being his brilliant self, or the production company actually did layer in some brass. So I want you to hear it without the brass. Okay. Of course, I added some reverb, which again, Fan Filter Pro, or I used a different setting, whatever. You can do all that. So that's it without the brass. Now I want you to hear it with the brass. I lay it in again from the Juno, God bless it. I have a couple of different sources for orchestra sound sources, so forth and so on. I have a couple of different sources, but the Juno DS has most of what you want, and it's quick into your fingers. So I use it a lot, although I do experiment frequently. Okay, with just the brass. So that's that. Now, I felt that was a little thin. You can hear that it spikes it up a little bit. But I still felt it was a little thin. So what I did was I added contrabass, okay, which I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. I know it's an orchestra instrument. No disrespect to the contrabass players out there, but I wouldn't know a contrabass if it walked up to me on the street and hit me in the head. I wouldn't know what it is. But I added a little contrabass here. Just give you the sequence real fast so you can see it. I added some contrabass just on a couple of notes, okay? So if you watch, it's just the bottom notes of the riff. And that's my wrap for now. So that's this installment. Again, Jimmy Page, Dragon Guitar, Metropolitan Museum of Art, Instruments of Rock and Roll, and Leo Fender. I also, as I mentioned, Audionamics, the amazing tool that I wouldn't have been able to have done this project without. Fab Filter Pro R is amazing also, and the Roland Juno DS. I am not plugging these companies. They are great. I'm talking about them only because I use them. So if you don't like the plug, I'm with you on that. Okay, so that's it. Joel August, thank you.